Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for our free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our monthly newsletter, Observations. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening, and welcome to New Tracks Modeling, coming to you live on Zoom and YouTube, as we do every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're glad you're joining us this evening. Tonight's broadcast is part of a growing platform founded by Jim Kello, whose vision was to create a collaborative educational space where modelers of all experience levels can come together to learn, share, and grow. That mission lives on through our strong mentorship community, where experienced hobbyists help others elevate their skills and confidence in model railroading. New Tracks Modeling extends beyond this live program. We're proud to support an active Facebook group, a dedicated website, and the widely read Observations newsletter, which reaches over 8,000 subscribers. We're also excited to continue the growing New Tracks Modeling Scholarship Program, an initiative you'll learn about more later in the show. Everything we offer is free to the participants, powered entirely by a team of passionate volunteers committed to enriching the model railroading hobby. Before we begin tonight's lineup, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Brennan's Model Railroading.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
I urge all of our viewers and participants to take advantage of supporting our sponsors like Brennan's Model Railroading and Frenchman River Model Works and Carroll Creek Designs and many others. Now, let's take a look at what's ahead in this evening's program. Hold on a second. Make this so I can see it. First up, we have Bill Stimnson returning with news and views and end scale. And he's going to be turning the Walther's Red Wing Milling Company into Ellison Flour. Next, we have Paul Reeves. He's recently a new presenter for us. This is, I believe, his second time on the show. He's going to be scratch building a chemical plant using PVC parts and pieces for his model building. This is going to be a unique construction method. And then we have part 3 of our longtime master modeler, Martin Brechbiel, who's also the editor of the Observations newsletter, and he's going to be doing part 3 of Deckard and Batty, the scratch build he's doing. I also want to point out that The May Observations newsletter is the last newsletter that we will be publishing because we're switching to New Tracks Modeler, an online magazine. So he'll be the editor of that new publication. And then returning to New Tracks is our longtime participant and presenter, Steve Sherill. He's going to do a topic called Rescue Modeling, New Life for Bargain Train Show Purchases as an example. And just to support that, I will be doing one myself, a train show purchase of a water tower rebuild. So that's tonight's show, and after my presentation, we'll have the closing by Father Ron, and we'll have a unique caboose. Before we begin the show tonight, though, I would like to run our scholarship program video and then have a few words by the director.
Are you a model railroader going to college in academic year 2025-26? If you are pursuing a STEAM degree, apply for the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship. For the 2025-26 academic year, 3 $2,000 scholarships will be available. You can apply online at the QR code shown or on the New Tracks Modeling website. Model railroaders can support the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship, the only national scholarships for model railroaders from a nonprofit organization. Donate online on Zephy. All donations are tax deductible.
But now I'd like to introduce Bob Davidson. He's the director of the scholarship program, and perhaps you can say a few words on our program.
Sure. Thank you, Tom. We have just 30 days left in this year's application process, so I do want to just put out, I guess, a final call to anyone out there. If you know of any students, we have gotten several applications, and I've gotten emails from a couple other folks that they were going to be sending in their applications as soon as their finals were completed. So, but there's still room. As Tom mentioned last week, we are fully funded for next year's scholarships and actually have a good head start for the 2026-27 scholarships already. So I did want to just take a moment here to thank the folks that have made that possible. Beginning with our commercial sponsors, our corporate sponsors. We had a platinum sponsor this past year of the Amherst Railway Society. We had a silver donor this past year, Scott Gear at the Great Scale Model Train Shows. They've been a great supporter of us, giving us space at all the shows in Timonium. So did the Amherst folks. We had a presence at Amherst, and a shout out to Chris and to Greg and to Steve for manning our booths at those shows. Thank you guys very much. It means a lot. We had a lot of brass sponsors this year. That's a $250 level. American Models, thank you, Karen. Brennan's Model Railroad. Brennan is committed to this program as he's committed to New Tracks. Just as an aside, this is not just for these kids. This is for us, and it's for the hobby as a whole. If we don't do something like this scholarship program to encourage these young men and women to stay in this hobby, we're all going to be scratching for places to find products, and it's just going to get harder and harder. So this is to these manufacturers' benefit to support the scholarship. It's to the kids' benefit, and it's to all of our benefit for staying in this hobby. So thanks to all of them. As we said, American Models, Brennan's Model Railroad, Kershaw Craftsman Kits was a new sponsor this past year, as was Localize. Thank you, Piyush. Dan and Amy Dowdy have been sponsors at the Model Railroad Resource since we began. We couldn't do it without these corporate folks. So as well, there were 26 individual donations to the scholarship fund this past year. We regularly have over 30 people here just on the Zoom call, and there's countless folks over on YouTube. So please, even if it's $5 or $10, think about supporting the scholarship. It's really money that's going back to our hobby. We need to keep this hobby vital and alive, and this is a great way to do it. And if you have any doubts about some of these kids, go to our YouTube channel, search back to last August when we made the awards, and you can find that episode where we interview these kids and we show some of the work that they've done. It's absolutely incredible. These are the folks that are breaking new territories in the modeling space, and anything we can do to support them. So spread the word, get the students, if you can, make a donation. In June, we'll be making our selections, and then we'll have our announcement show, I think in July of this year. So thanks to all of you for all that you've done. And back to you, Tom.
Well said, Bob. And this is like, I couldn't say any more. This is a very worthy cause. So thank you for your time and thank you for your promotion of that scholarship.
You're very welcome.
Okay, well, now I'd like to begin the show. And our first presenter is Bill Stimnson, News and Views, N Scale. He's going to be turning the Walther's Red Wing Cornerstone Milling, Walther's Cornerstone Red Wing Milling Company into Ellison Flour. There's a mouthful.
Say that 3 times fast.
So welcome to the show again, Bill. Appreciate your support. And it's all yours.
Thanks, Tom. Oops. There we go. All right. Looks like it worked. Okay. So turning the Walther's Red Wing modeling into Ellison's Flour. I don't know. In both HO and N scale, this kit has been around for quite a while, and people have built it. And most of the ones I see look exactly like the picture on the package. So I was looking around to figure out a way to do something. I found this at a swap meet for about half of what Walther's charges. Now, okay, let's try it. Let's see what we can do. So I didn't figure a way to kit bash it. I saw a couple of kit bashes, but I wasn't looking to make a flat or anything like that. So here we go. I primed the walls with my Army Painter gray primer, and then I used apple barrel vanilla ice cream and slate gray to do the walls and windows. Well, but the interesting thing I found was that the vanilla ice cream paint did not really cover the gray primer, especially not in the first coat. It actually ended up taking almost 5 coats to do it. But the good part for me was that kind of made the walls look a little weathered. They're not all just I don't know what color this is. It's like a creamy yellow. It's supposed to be the color of vanilla ice cream, I assume. I get things assembled pretty well and put these the smokestacks together and found that the joints didn't go together very well. So I ended up puttying up the edges, and that solved the problem. If you don't have some of this, whose brand was it? AK Interactive Modeling gray putty. It actually has no fumes to it, which makes it even better, and it goes on real nice and dries fairly quickly. So to make this building different from others, I searched online to find a new sign. I found this sign. It actually said the real sign said milled from selected Canada wheat. Well, I'm not going to build it. No, not disparaging on anybody in Canada, but I'm not building a Canadian railroad, so I went into Microsoft Design and changed Harvest or Canada Harvest, and that made it look good. Unfortunately, my printer, as you can see, just is not acting up. It's acting up a little bit, and I have a bunch of lines. So I went in and got a red colored pencil, and I filled in as best I could to make it look a little better. Of course, those are the pictures you see there are pretty well blown up compared to the signs on the building. There you can see. One thing about Walther's kits, they usually go together pretty smoothly, and this one did. And you can see there the yellowish color. Here's some more pictures of it. The sign. And it doesn't look like the building on the picture. It looks a little bit like it, but not much. I had no problem adding a little bit of rust to the dust collectors and the roof there, and added a whole bunch of stuff to the roof this stuff didn't come in the kit, and that seemed to help make it look a little more realistic. You know, for a relatively inexpensive plastic kit, this goes together, and it was kind of fun to take it and turn it into something that's a little different from your usual Walther's kit. And then the next thing I want to talk about is, I don't know if all of you realize, but Joann Fabric is going out of business. Well, I didn't think of it much, but my wife wanted to go, so I went with her and found that there was a whole bunch of trees that actually were N scale, and that vanilla ice cream acrylic paint and a whole bunch of other acrylic paints were available there for like half price. So I bought a bunch of stuff, and this is the corner of my layout that I've been working on building scenery up. This is what it looked like before all those trees were purchased and added in. And now you can see how many trees I actually bought. I think I bought 40 or 50 trees for $35, $40. It wasn't too bad. And that certainly filled in that forest really well. Amazing how well you can, with just some, I mean, especially in N scale, that you're looking back from so far that you can't, trees don't have to be perfect to look like real trees. And I also found, I don't know if people remember, I built this shack in the corner there, and that's going to be a good spot for that little wooden shack that I scratch built for a couple of my builds ago. And so that's what I've been up to for the last month or so, between the plugging the trees in and building the Red Wing into Ellison's things. Anybody got any questions, comments? And this is kind of a short one, but
Bill, two comments. First
sure.
off, I agree on the technique. I really like the technique of using a gray primer and then painting over it with the acrylic paint that does not cover in the first coat. I find on wooden buildings that it gives you a very convincing look of weathered paint with that gray showing through.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great technique. Also, I use my inkjet printer for signs. You may want to try running the application in your printer to clean the heads.
Yeah, I have. It doesn't seem to work. I think it's the fact that this printer is 15 years old
You
now.
just wore it out. Yeah.
It may be time for a new one. I don't know. But yeah, this is really the first color I've had trouble. But then again, I've had trouble with yellows before covering everything.
Yellow is a difficult ink. Absolutely.
I mean, the paint, the acrylic paint, yellowish acrylic
Oh,
paint.
well, it's the same deal. Yellow, if you're any kind of a model builder, plastic modeler, yellow paint is the worst thing there is.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
My son, who paints miniatures, says you should paint it with a pink and try that. And paint your primer with the pink and then put the yellow over the top of that. I tried once and I didn't get any better luck. So take that
It
for what
might be
it's
the
worth.
only place where you want to use a white primer.
Yeah.
Yeah. True enough.
Well, I think you're doing a great job, Bill, with, having modeled N scale myself for a long time. The fact that you're changing things, the problem with kits in general is everybody's got them, but when you take a design preservations model and make it your own, or this Walther's cornerstone and make it your own, when somebody visits the layout, or even for yourself, you're not you don't have the same look and the same kit as everybody else, and that's to be commended.
It's gotten to the point where I don't want to have the same buildings as everybody else.
Yeah,
you can't scratch build everything. I guess you could. It just take longer to get things done.
Almost, I do. Well, thank you for being on the show this evening.
Thanks, Tom.
Another great presentation and terrific modeling. Next up, we have Paul Reeves, scratch building a chemical plant using PVC parts and pieces for his model building. But before we have Paul on, we're going to run the My Build video and a few words from our own Chris Course.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling My Build event. My Build is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some My Builds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the My Build, please email your modeling photos to chriscourse@railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time My Build participant, please include a photo of yourself.
Now, a few words from Chris Course, who's the segment manager of that My Build.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Tom. All right, the My Build that we have coming up in a few weeks here. If you could share that slide. The next My Build is May 14th. It is a free-for-all. It's a little bit earlier in the month. Actually, 14th? Okay. Yep, the 14th. And like I said, it's a free-for-all, so please get your photos to me by May 10th. That way we can include them. At that point, we'll also start the voting for the future themes. And we do have a list somewhere of the themes that we have considered or under consideration so far. We've got a pretty decent list going, and we'll open it up on the 14th. For voting, and then let it go till probably maybe a few days before that June 25th. So it'll give me a couple days to put all the results together. So the June 25th show will be water. It will be a theme. It'll be waterfronts, boats, bridges, all that fun stuff. Whatever you can do to fit inside that category. And at that point, we'll go over the votes and figure out what 6 themes we're going to go with for the challenges for next year. And then again in July, the 23rd will be another free-for-all, and from there we'll see what happens. So that's what we've got to share. And let's see, I won't be here next week. I'm actually going to go be down maybe seeing Bill Stimnson. We'll see. And I'll turn it back over to you, Tom.
Thank you again for your ongoing participation and for running the My Build segment, one of the most popular segments on New Tracks Modeling, and a unique opportunity to get into our live show and take advantage of that. Thank you again. So next up, we have Paul Reeves. This is his second New Tracks presentation, if memory serves me correct. This is scratch building a chemical plant. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Really pleasure to be here and present some ideas that I hope you find interesting, and hopefully will create a motivation to look into doing things a little differently. I sort of join with the previous speaker about when I get something on my layout, I wanted to have something that's different, something that's a little unique, even though it might be based on things that you would see normally. In 2001, I accompanied my dad to a reunion of the 45th Infantry Division's 129th Combat Engineers section from Korea. And like probably most of you, when I go to a new place, I try to find a local train shop or hobby shop. And I went to this place. I couldn't tell you where it was in Oklahoma City at all, but it was sort of a hole in the wall, which is, I get excited because those are always hold some sort of thing that you haven't seen or maybe can't find anywhere else. And sure enough, there was a refinery looking building that was, or excuse me, structure that was probably 36 by 24, and there were two pieces of it. And all of it had, well, all the piping, that is the tanks and such, were mostly PVC pipes. So I asked the guy, you know, was it for sale? And I bought it. I had it shipped back. Without probably the biggest miracles, I got it shipped in one piece and it showed up. I've always been impressed with whoever built it. So I'm what the pictures I'm going to show you of this refinery, I didn't build it, but someone had some great ideas to use things that we can find. I will give you a warning though. You probably don't want to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and sit in the plumbing aisle with a box and like you're measuring and putting pieces together. That might create some weirdness on the behalf of management, but that's exactly what I did when I tried to compare what this person did. Can we go to the next slide, please? You can go on to the next one, please. Okay, this is a side view of the structure. The numbers represent just different pieces and parts of a PVC family. Now the two tanks toward the back were not part of this. I added those, and those were built by a gentleman who, I can't remember his name, but he does a really good job with those. But anyway, as you can see, the builder basically just took pieces that sort of matched or sort of indicated a tower, and he just glued one coupling or one piece to the next and kept going as high as he wanted to. He did use some plastruck covered or safety ladders that you can see. But all of the numbers indicate that those are PVC pipes. And you can see here that he didn't really crowd. I mean, it's not crowded. He just had pieces that sort of, I think, just looked like they were in the right spot. And I'm sorry it's not included in this, but I went to the internet, and the PVC pipes, you know, run from ½ inch to up to, well, multiple inches. But what I have found though is that most of what was in this particular refinery was the taller towers had a 6-inch coupling base with a 4-inch opening that was built up just using different 4-inch pieces of PVC pipe. You can go to the next slide, please. This is just a look at the bottom. If you look at the silver one next to the red pipe, that's just a reducer. It's 6 inches to 4, and he just stacked. He took some plastic or some sort of tubing and just stuck some tubing here and there. Again, there's not a lot of detail to this, but there's enough. So again, it looks like he used, whoever he or she used, just regular PVC glue that you can find in the big box stores. Next slide, please. He went really way up. I mean, this thing was probably, those towers there were probably 30 inches. And you can see he just kind of built around that. And there's a Phillips 66 sign. That's just a piece of plastic. And you can look on the tower on the right that has a little bit of a tan. I got it blown up on the other side. It looks like he just took some C columns from plastruck and just cut those to length and built them around the edge. And I don't even really know what that means, but it looks like it belongs there, as does all this stuff. It just kind of looks like it belongs. The red tanks, if you will, at the bottom right-hand corner are literally just 1-inch PVC pieces. I think they're about 1 inch interior and 1 inch high. Next slide, please. This is another look. The only piping that I could find that was done to represent, I guess, the very bottom, there's a red pipe that goes around to from those 3 tanks there. And those are just simply PVC pieces glued on top of each other. He used a 1/2-inch coupling off the last tank that goes, I guess, ostensibly goes in the ground. The hatch doors on the red tanks was pieces of wood that I think may have been used for leveling your furniture, like a biscuit. I don't know, but they were just glued on there. And from where you could view it, you couldn't tell the difference. He also did a really good job in at least mimicking how someone could get to the top of the tower for maintenance or whatever the case may be. And those cages would have looked much better had they been painted yellow. But again, it's all weathered to look like it's out there working and producing some chemical or some sort of petroleum product. Next slide, please. Again, just more details, just to give you an idea that I don't think you can go wrong. I think if you go to the big box stores, spend a little time in the plumbing section, you can probably get, at one point I priced it because that tank in the center with the silver look to it, I think I priced that out. It might have been $9, maybe $9.20, something. It was under $10. And also, if you know an irrigation guy, he's going to have a ton of that stuff lying around that he might not need. The bottom middle part is an MTH tank that was, of course, commercial. That obviously was not scratch built, but it fit right in my opinion. Next slide, please. Again, just some more detailed shots. Somebody had attempted to wire this for lighting. I'm not really sure exactly what happened because it's all exposed. However, part of the wiring was still in, or excuse me, part of the connection was still good. The lighting on, I don't have a photograph from at night, but the lighting on this thing was really cool. If you look on the right side, there's a tank on the left in that right side picture where there is a pipe going down, and that is a very small tube. I don't know where you got it from, but I looked online today or in preparation for this, and you can find tubing almost anywhere. Some guys use straws to form the piping. That sometimes can be a little bit problematic because the straws are not very rigid. But I learned on the internet today, some guy had a great idea that if you're trying to use straws for piping, is to stick a barbecue skewer or a food skewer, wooden, inside the drinking straw that you're going to use for piping, and it really gives it a rigid, much more easy to control, much more sturdy on the layout. Next, please. Again, just you can see the height of these things. The photograph on the right and on the right side of that photograph, you can see there are 2 reducers or expanders in the middle of the stand on the right. Again, that's a 4-inch on the bottom and a 4-inch on the top, and they join together. He ran some piping down, and again, it just looked like it fit. I don't know if there's a single thing on here that actually exists in the real world of chemicals and refineries and those kind of things, but the look was accomplished with really, really it was a good job. Next. Well, that's it. Again, I have collected a number of the pieces in this, and you can, if you got a little time, you can build this thing for probably less than $50. Now, if you want to detail it more with the plastruck, the cages and those kind of things, that's going to up your price a little bit. But even just a few pieces like that could really, really, really add to what you're trying to do. Again, just the idea behind all this really was impressive to me. If you look on the left-hand picture of the slide that's up, At the bottom, you see two tanks that are gray, and there's a walkway or a cage, excuse me, a platform that runs from top of one end. Those are just simply end caps. I think they're 6 inches in diameter on the inside, and there's a little, he used a coupling or a 1/2 inch, excuse me, a 1 inch coupling on top. He sanded it down to where it would fit. And again, you can see it looks like something that should be at a refinery. So I hope this will give you some stimulation to maybe give some thought to how you could, even on a small scale, build a very, very realistic refinery or chemical plant. And especially if you're able to maybe put in some extra piping and just weather it. It looks like to me these things were painted before they were put on there, and then somebody just shook dust all over it and it stuck. It was done really well. So anyway, I appreciate so much your time and listening. I hope this has been at least motivating to give some thought to building things that are not from a box. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. Again, I didn't build this, so whoever did it did a really good job.
Paul, excellent presentation. Walther's has a box set of valves and piping in 2 or 3 different sizes with elbows, lengths of pipe, different size valves, couplings, et cetera, that would be ideal to add to this.
I would agree. You're exactly right.
And I think they're HO, but you know, I use them for O scale. And those ladders are from Plastruct. I've seen those before, those cage ladders. So just with some minimal detail parts, there's a lot of 3D printed valves and things on Facebook or on eBay. So for very short money, you can have a very detailed refinery. I think that's the point, yeah?
Absolutely. I think for those of you who may want to explore this on a to do some more research, is if you Google Warhammer and refinery or dioramas, those guys are very, very adept at finding junk and turning it into something. In fact, I have a photograph, I'm sorry to include it, of a chemical plant, and the guy just said, I use piping where I thought piping should be. I have no information about what it was being used for, but there's some really good illustrations. And there's also, I Googled tubing, and it's all sizes, flexible, non-flexible. That would also give you some ideas about cheaply using pipe. I will agree though what Tom said. I have the cornerstone set of piping, and it would work perfectly because none of us are plumbers or refineries, so it would look just like it should.
Thank you very much for a great presentation, and we hope you return with another equally great presentation.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Appreciate you letting me be on.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Master Model Builder Martin Brechbiel doing part 3 of the offices of Deckard and Batty in his segment Scratch Builder's Corner. Before we have Martin on, though, we're going to run the Observations newsletter for the last time.
Get more new tracks modeling by reading the monthly Observations newsletter. Each edition of Observations includes exciting articles about modeling shown on the show, other modeling topics and prototypical railroading information. Other articles focus on outstanding model railroaders and new products from a range of suppliers. Don't miss the photos of the popular New Tracks My Build. You can download Observations for free from the New Tracks Modeling website. Subscribe so you don't miss an issue.
Do we have Martin on this evening? I don't know if I saw him earlier. Or do we have a no-show?
I actually don't see him. He may not be here. He may have had some issues.
Okay. Why don't we, we'll have Steve Sherill up next. What do you want to talk about? Rescue modeling. We'll run a back-to-back video just so that we give Steve a little time to compose himself.
Carroll Creek Design Group is an innovative new model railroad supplier with products for all scales. The Carroll Creek team uses advanced processes, including resin and filament 3D printing and laser engraving and cutting. These tools enable us to produce a range of products. We produce different rolling stock and motive power models in multiple scales. We are narrow-minded and focus on narrow gauge and unique backwards models. We have a great selection of ON30, ON18 and HON3 products. Our product range includes complete kits, ready-to-run models, and detail parts. In addition to our products, we are available for custom design, 3D printing, and laser cutting. See our products on our webpage at the QR code. We look forward to meeting you.
Steve. Want to spotlight Steve Sherill? Welcome, Steve. Speaking of master modelers himself. Would you like me to pop up your slideshow? You're muted.
Don't show this. Oh,
You want me to put up your slideshow? Or do you want to talk?
No, not yet. Well, look, tonight we're going to talk about something new, and I've never heard this term before. It's going to be called rescue modeling.
You see your handsome self there? You're muted again. You're muted.
Okay. How am I doing now?
Now you're great.
Okay. Rescue modeling. Why do we do it? What is it? And who does it? I'm a rescue modeler. I go to train shows, and sometimes I find models that other people have built that I think can fit into settings on my own railroad. So one I found was a modified Atlas switch tower. So if you show the next one.
Hold on.
All right. Here a gentleman took this switch tower, changed the roof out, put a platform on the back, and I have it down in my marshalling yard as an office. I thought the setting was perfect. It fit wonderful. And I got a lot of comments on it. And it was a good pick. When we go to these train shows, a lot of times, if you're an N-scaler or HOer, you see a whole lot of plastic buildings that have been built. Some of them are really reasonable, and some of them are nicely done, actually. What we need to do is to look at the ones that maybe we can use some of the parts, all the parts, or just take the entire thing and set it in a new setting. So this worked out real good for me. Now, go to the next one. Here's a model in the background. I believe that is a Tom York building, believe it or not. And I just took it and set it down the ground as a storage shed and put it into a logging entrance that would go up into the mountain. I thought it was the right place. It was nicely done, and I got it for a very, very reasonable price, like $10. And so that I saved that one. You know, these buildings that you see at these train shows that are, you know, $5, $10, some of those end up getting thrown away. And for a small amount of money, you can take these and use parts off of them and really get some use out of them. Go ahead and show the next one. Now here is a wrought iron model. That's a flat. In about 1975, there was a company that made Route 66 commemorative buildings. This is the one I found. I cannot find any more anywhere. And I took it and I rescued it and put it in a background. It's actually S scale. And what I did, I just put details in front of it and gave it some value and some depth. Okay, hit the next one. Now this one is just sitting there, okay? A lot of times I take my buildings that I find and I have in mind what I want to do with them. Here is a boiler type house with some pipes leading from a tank just going into a flat. It's just sitting there. And I thought the neat thing was the bracing underneath the piping. So obviously the angles haven't been cut into the building yet, but I'll let it sit there and look at it for a while until I decide, hey, do I want it there or not?
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
That building flat, can you tell us a little about that? That looks absolutely outstanding.
Well, there's a company in Virginia that made these in HO. I called the guy and I said, listen, I want to blow these up and put them in O scale. And I just wanted to get his permission. You know, I already paid for the HO. And so it wasn't that I was just getting something for free. So then I just added some details out, some vents, some piping, things like that. And it actually turned out really nice. And so that I have about a 12-foot wall there that I used all of his flats.
That's a beautiful photograph of that. Yeah. And the details on it give it the 3 dimensions. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the flats, I actually have a person whose head is hanging out the apartment window and she's looking down the tracks.
Huh.
I don't think, well, you don't have a picture of that, I'm sure. Now, here's my greatest rescue right here. I think anyway. My friend Steve Fisher, who passed away recently, I was at his railroad and this structure came up. It was a covered bridge. And I said, well, what are you going to do with that? He said, you know, I think I'm just going to get rid of it, throw it away. He said, I don't have any use for it. You know, and I said, well, I'll take it. And so I took it and I added windows to it. I added a bump out and I used it as a sawmill. I had a water tank I stuck on top as some kind of a fire control system. And then to the right, I actually, out of a magazine, I blew the burner up from just a little teeny inch. I kept blowing it up until I got that to that size. And it, on the left-hand side is a Walther's place that you put your cut lumber. And so that actually, then just added various details, which they don't go anywhere. They're just details. One of the unique things that I did, if you look down there by the guy who's wiping his head, there's a little detail where they always have old wheel sets around. You've seen them. And so why not make a seat out of them? So I just put a board across the top for a guy to sit there, eat lunch or whatever they do. Okay.
Tell me about that water tank. Is that a scratch build?
The one on top?
Yeah.
No. It was a casting, and I kept scratching it with sandpaper and wire brush until I got that look, and then I just stained it, and then I built the framework around it and just put a ladder up on it. I
mean, this scene looks this looks like out of a movie set. This is very well. And what do we got going on the right there? The bin and everything there.
The boom.
the bin, I see the two counterweights. Oh, it's a water tank. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
see
it's a
the
water
spout.
tank. This also came
I
from
didn't see
Steve Fisher. That is the log dump right there. And I
Yeah.
actually didn't have a place for it, but I just stuck it in there just to kind of fill the space and block the fact that I don't have the log finished. It's just dummy sitting there. So it just kind of fills some space up.
So you've got a Walther's lumber mill on the left. You've
Yeah.
got a covered bridge that you converted into basically a sawmill with a bump out and a water tank.
And the windows, I don't know where they came from. I just had them in the box, and I created the bump out and put Paper Creek shingles on the building, and that's a Joey Ricard backdrop up there that looks pretty good in this situation.
Excellent.
I just filled it up with a bunch of details that, they're just details. They don't have any purpose, or why are they there? I don't know. Just fill up the space,
The red machinery that's off to the right of the bump out. Do you recall where that came from?
Nope.
Okay. All right. It looks great.
That may have been a rescue too, Sometimes they come up with a lot of little rescue items.
Very nice.
No, is that all? That's all my slides, isn't it?
This was the last one.
No, that's yours.
Yeah.
I know Tom rescued. Tom, tell us about your rescue.
I did a NewTrax presentation on this, but I bought that Lionel kit, or it was pre-assembled on the left, and it looks like a toy. It's O scale. And I looked at it and I thought it had potential to turn into a realistic looking model. I thought the roof had to go. It looked like something out of Harry Potter. And obviously it couldn't be fire engine red like that. And there was no glass in it. And anyway, so what I did on the right there is I built a new roof. I put on that detail below the roof, those cornices, put in glass. And then to somebody's point earlier with the yellow, that had about 4 or 5 coats of yellow paint to finally, I did primer it all with Tamiya gray. And then I had 3 or 4 coats of yellow and then carefully painted the brown on there. But I think I made the equivalent of a laser cut kit on the right and compared to the toy on the left. It's just an amazing transformation for me, and it's under $20. So, yeah.
Also, Greg is rescuing some buildings also. Greg, if you want to show some of the stuff that you've done.
That'd be great.
Okay. Let me pull it up. What I rescued was not a built structure, but a couple of unbuilt kits that had been sitting on a table at Timonium for a long time. And I picked these 2 up for $10. Now, the Superior Bakery, I had already shown that previously. I built it pretty much as it was meant to be built. But the Weekly Herald, when I got to that, I said, I'm not going to do that again. That was fun, but I want something different. So I started thinking about an abandoned building, and these are the only parts that I really had to work with. So I said, okay, I'll use what I have to out of this and then make everything else. And this is what I ended up with. I got some photos of abandoned buildings to just get my imagination going, and just went from there. I busted out all the windows, busted the door. The awning was collapsing, and the only thing holding it up is the hoist. This is obviously recent because there's a lot of tagging going on. The skylights are busted in, and there's a lot of debris around it. On the inside, I went ahead and had it where it's got water that leaked in from the broken skylights and windows, and there's a place where there's cinder blocks and beer bottles laying around, and again, some more tagging on the inside, and the wall between the offices and the print room have been busted in some. And then this is the back of the building, some more tagging and more debris and busted windows. And I put some lighting inside it too, even though there's no electricity going to it anymore. But this was what I decided that I wanted to do with this kit. It just, it looked like it had been handed around from one person to another, and whoever bought it originally didn't build it. And then after it went to a couple other homes, it never got built. And I just wanted to make it into something more than what it was when they originally created it. So that's it.
Looks like you got some experience on breaking those windows out, Greg. You know?
I use 4 scalpel blades on those.
You always model what you see.
That looks fantastic, Greg. That one shot with the falling in, rusted out, whatever it is, the roof, the
skylights.
Yeah, it was just fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just couldn't bear to see those kits just going from table to table at the shows and nobody ever doing anything with them.
Eventually, they just get thrown away.
Yeah.
They just disappear. And that's a shame because some of those buildings were really nice. They represented a complete new era in model railroading when they came about. So in the beginning of the presentation, we asked, what is rescue modeling? I think we have a good idea now. Who does it? Well, there's three of us here that do it or have done it. I'm sure there's everyone here that's been to the show and picked up something that somebody else built and they ended up on the railroad. And why do we do it? Well, save money.
It saves time too.
Also, give appreciation to somebody who put in some effort before us.
That might be a possible theme for my build.
Yeah, rescue. Would you like to run that segment?
No.
There's where it all falls apart.
I can't do it on the list. No, that would be a good one.
It would be a good one.
An AHM engine house that I'm working on, and that was another rescue building. I got that at Timonium, but now that all the train shows are coming about, the opportunities are just numerous to come up with these rescues. So
yeah,
we're a rescue society. So
that's it is an original Steve Sherill. You should trademark that. Rescue.
Yeah, I never heard that term before. So
that's original.
It's much cheaper than a dog.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Those building flats that you had.
Yes.
That might have been King Mill or something like
yes,
that.
Something. Yes, exactly. I got the whole series, and originally I just used it to cover the wall, but I haven't taken it down now in about 10 years. So, but they blew up nice. They blew up at those scales really nice. I've done a lot with them. I put some platforms on some of the doors, and that kind of thing. People standing out back, and so you can add a little detail to them and make them come alive a little bit.
Well, thank you, Steve. And the final presentation this evening is mine, and it too is on a rescue. He inspired me. What can I say? And that is.
Oh.
Just a moment. Oop, hold on a moment. Got the wrong one. Oh, wrong one. I'm live from Cleveland here. Hold on a moment. Just a moment. Can everybody see this now? Is that up? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So this is a rescue train show water tower. And I featured this actually a couple of years ago, but it's had some modifications since then. So this is how I purchased it from the train show. And I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was pretty inexpensive, roughly around $20. It's a scratch build. And I thought the water tower was absolutely exquisite. I thought the modeling right there was just, you couldn't do any better. It's like Al Judy quality.
Mhm.
But I thought this stonework was terrible. I just thought that the stone was porous, the coloring was wrong. Knowing something about stone, you wouldn't see colors bleed across like that unless they were, you'd see individual colors, not bleeding of stone like that. Anyway, so I thought that was not so good. And I thought these end buildings, I thought they were adequate, but not great. So knowing that the masonry wasn't right, what I did is I thought, okay, I'm going to rebuild this. So I started with a piece of aircraft grade plywood, and I put in a foundation using MonsterWorks concrete block. So I just went 2 high, cut 45s on it, and then I cut MonsterWorks used brick, 4 sides, laser cut, laser etched basswood. And then it's the same size as my foundation, of course. Then using a disc sander, I put a 45-degree bevel on all the corners. And the MonsterWorks does have a orientation to it, so you have to keep your ups and downs. You have to keep score on that, or you'll put it in upside down. Then I did a layout, and then when I cut this door in, I saw that I had mislaid out this window. I moved it, so I caught that before I cut it. If I would have cut the windows out, I would have had to cut a new one of these. So I had an error there, but I moved the window over, and all was well. So I just cut this out with an X-Acto, filed it. These are going to have masonry windows. I corrected that so it's square. And then I built it up using this 1/4-inch material that I use for just about everything. So this is a very robust, really robust construction with this 1/4-inch material, all super glued together. We're not going to get any warping. You can see you don't have to be perfect with these 45s. They fit pretty nice, pretty tight. So that's my. This was the building that I thought was the weak part of the model. And when I paint this just fills. You don't even see these cracks. So then I glued it down to the base. Now these were the keepers. These are the pieces that I kept. This is the outstanding water tower. You just can't make it any better than that. And these were made out of styrene. And I'm going to improve them a little bit, but mostly I'm just going to paint them. But before I went any further, I wanted to see how this was all going to fit together. So I did a few mock-ups. So this is the way ideally you'd want it, with this water spout and all these doorways up front. But in the area that I had this targeted for the layout, if I turn this would be the back of the front of the building. You wouldn't see from the layout. It would be totally hidden, as you'll see later on. You would just see the back. there's virtually no details on the back. So what I did is I reversed it. So in front of me here is where the track would be, and there's no detail. There's no door here, there's no door here. And unfortunately, you can't see this beautiful work, not too easily. But that's the location. So this is the look that I ultimately went with. That you'll see the back of the water tank, you'll see this fill tank that goes into this pump house, and you'll see these two side buildings. Now, this was the paint team for this project. These are all the different paints I used. First, I used dull coat, as I've preached, presentation over presentation. After every color change, I spray a flat dull coat so I don't get a bleeding from one color to another. It's not so much a problem with this model, but on others it is. I use a very inexpensive acrylic black paint for the inside of my buildings that I'm not detailing the interiors. This was the color scheme for my railroad is yellow and green trim or brown trim or a combination of both, and yellow walls. And then this weathering wash, this thinner, medium, and then just white. I will use pan pastels as well. So the first thing I did is seal everything up with my favorite primer, the Tamiya surface primer, non-filling primer. Then, sorry, this thing's jumping around. And then I sprayed these outbuildings with the gray primer. You'll never get a yellow over or a green over those dark colors. It would require a lot of coats. So you want to prime. Sorry, this thing's jumping around. There's a bit of detail on here, sufficient. It's not terrific modeling, but it's sufficient for what I'm doing. Now for the brick, sorry about this. For the brick, I use this American Accents Rust-Oleum rust. It's a spray enamel and then a paint on with the this acrylic, sort of a brown rust color, but it's very effective. So the first color is this, we'll call it obnoxious orange. You want to make sure you cover everything with it. And then with the acrylic, you just paint it on over the orange. There's the original orange. You paint that acrylic from the paint can on there, and you wipe it off with a cloth. You don't wipe it off with paper because you get the little fuzzies everywhere. So you got to wipe it down with like an old sock or something. And then I use this Robert's brick mortar formula, which is still available. It's sort of a slurry paste. I just use an old paintbrush and I just make sure I push it in between the bricks. And again, I use a old sock and I wipe it off. Can't use paper. And it gets between the technique that I just showed you on the painting of the base colors using that mortar mix. That's a pretty effective brick, as you'll see. And then you can see I've painted the inside black. I drilled a hole here in case I want to light this at some point. These are all base colors. The base color for the gray here is still the spray paint for the from the Tamiya. These are just the yellow acrylics. This is the craft paint, the yellow, and this is the hobby paint, the Vallejo. I'll go back and touch this up. It's not exactly on there. These are first coats. You have to go back and meticulously paint this, get it right. There's the other side. I'll go back and touch that up. This is the original window. I couldn't get that window out. They glued it in with about a tube and a half of glue. I think I just could not pry that window out. I wanted to replace it, but I couldn't get it out. Now there's the back. Well, this is actually the front of the building. But under normal circumstances, this would be the back of the building. There's a close-up of that brick. I mean, isn't that amazing? That's that Larkspur Monster Works used brick.
Yeah.
With the orange enamel, the brownish red acrylic, and then the mortar mix. That's without weathering yet. That's pretty impressive brickwork. So I wanted to put some shingles on one of those outbuildings because I didn't think they were satisfactory. The best shingles that I've ever found that were made out of paper were from Paper Creek. But Paper Creek is long since gone. The next best thing, if you like those paper type shingles, is Bar Mills has this O-scale coastal brown shake style shingles. They are pretty good approximation of the Paper Creek ones that I used to like. So I put them on here, right over those old shingles, right over them. You can see where I started the weathering process here. We'll get to that in a minute. So for the windows for the new brick pump house, these are, I think these are Grant Line. I use my surface primer again. Then with this olive green, I just hand painted them. And then I weathered them with the pan pastels. You know, everybody becomes an expert with some of these materials that are available today. These pan pastels are a remarkable product. I know Greg Cassidy uses them. They take, I mean, they're just, I think Greg's going to do a clinic on it coming up. So there's the finished model. That's the back. See how I've weathered the brick?
Mm-hmm.
Some darks. I've weathered this. These are my railroad colors for the buildings, this yellow and green. It's a very nice model. There's an up close again of the brickwork with the weathering on it. There's the left side, the outbuilding with the new Bar Mill shingles on it. There's some weathering here. The idea is this mold from water sitting around and seeping creates a black mold here. Very healthy. There's the other side. Sorry. This I just took some Paper Creek tar paper, put it over that. Weathered everything else. There is the front, or what we should call track side. Again, I didn't touch this at all, really. And see how I toned those yellows down, that obnoxious bright yellows, now weathered out with the pan pastels. I did add a little up here, little growth, a little more mold. And there's where it's going to go. So this is from standing. This is Shantytown to the left, and that's the depot to the right. If I had this stuff in the front, where the track is, you'd never see it. So I thought, I'll just reverse it. And there's the depot. See the company colors, green and yellow, green and yellow. It runs throughout my whole layout. So again, there's the original, which in my eyes, for roughly $20, this looked just fantastic, but this looked terrible to me, and this looked weak. And then the rescued, a word coined by our very own Steve Sherill. So I have maybe $35 into this at the most, maybe, including the original purchase price. You can imagine a kit like that would probably run you a couple $100. So not only did we rescue a model from the trash can, potentially, but we made a significant improvement in the model for short change, and it'll stand up to a contemporary laser cut kit, no problem. Yeah, there's even better photo of it. But it looks striking now. And anybody can do this.
Tom, I'm going to give you an RM after your name.
Rescue modeler.
Rescue modeler, yep.
I like that actually. That's pretty good. Well, we have an abbreviated show this evening. We had a couple people cancel, and we had a no-show. And I encourage our YouTubers and our Zoomers to present, share your skills. It's all about mentoring. And every show I pick up an idea or a technique. This evening I made a mental note with Greg Cassidy's abandoned building that I want to do one. I've been inspired by that one particular photo that just was inspiring. I like destruction on my layout and decrepit, and that's perfect. So there's a lot of inspiring modeling on this. Steve Sherrill's that converted covered bridge with the Walther's lumber mill and the water tower on top. I mean, that looked like a museum piece. That's a gorgeous model. And I make these little mental pictures of this, and I file them away in my head. Then if necessary, I go back and I look at the segments and I say, I'm going to model one of these. And that's the real value of the show, is not only getting ideas, but learning all these techniques. And I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. So I encourage everybody to participate and share, even if you think you're not showing anybody anything, you probably are. The chemical plant, PVC piping from Home Depot or Lowe's, combined with Walther's cornerstone piping, valves, and plastruck ladders and things, and you've got yourself a modern chemical plant for short money. All kinds of things on New Tracks modeling, but we need presentations. It's not only is it stressful to get these every week, it'd be easier if I had more than I needed. So anyway, I'd like to close the show now with Father Ron, and then we're going to show a unique caboose that features, how do you say it, Phil? I can't say it, sorry. Techapi, I can't.
Takes on the Techapi.
There you go. Anyway, it'll be great. Well, thank you for this evening. Father Ron?
Master maker of the universe, our scale models imitate your creative spirit, and we learn the genius of your handiwork. Teach us to appreciate all you have made. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron. And now, Phil, if you could run the New Tracks solicitation video. Oh, okay. All right.
Obviously, this has been sped up.
Phil, do you happen to know if those are new or used?
No idea.
One thing about camouflage, it's like automatic weathering.
Yep.
I think those are the M41 Abrams.
With different paint schemes.
Yeah, depending on where they're going into.
Right.
Well, thank you again, and we'll see you next week.